In this section in the book, I explore the nature of what creation is and what creativity is in terms of the Christian theology. I am a believer that creation is not a one-time event, but it is a continual, sustaining process. It is not a final product that we have got to maintain and think. It's about a process that God created, He creates, and He will continue to create. And what He does with humanity is He invites them to participate in that, to participate in the creative process. So there is a sharing between God and humanity, the creative process, the sustaining and development of creation. What happens when we create? We become godlike when we create. In Hebrew scripture, there's a word bara, which is the second word in the Hebrew scripture. Bereshit bara. In the beginning, created. God created. Bara is only ever used to do with an activity of God. God creates. Man, when they make something, it's kind of like reshaping creation or participating in an action of God. Yeah? So mankind can't create, but they participate in creation. Okay, so there's a slight difference of who's in control and who's in charge. But what is creativity? Some people say, oh, I'm not creative. And I'd say you are creative because you are made in the image of God. You have creative potential. Okay, I want you to imagine that you're walking through a field of daisies and the sun is shining. Okay, I want you to picture that in your mind. Everyone put up your hand if you can't picture that. Okay, you are all just participated in a creative activity. You used your imagination, which is a creative tool. Okay? When people say, I am not creative, what it means is I struggle to express the things that are going on in my head. That is not a bad thing. That is not about not being creative. That's about not being expressive. And that can be handled. We can express things. Put up your hand if you can't speak. Okay, every time you speak, you express the thoughts that are going on in your head. Therefore, you are articulating your creative ability. So you are all creative. You are all participating in a creative act by speaking and by thinking and by remembering, by imagining. Now, we've been talking in my community about memory and about how it is a creative activity. When we recall something in our head, our brains are doing creative stuff. Yeah, it's the same part of the brain that is used in memory as it is used in creative activity. You are recapturing and reimagining and rethinking up the images that you once knew. Okay, or what's the images you thought you once knew, because you can never sure whether or not the memory is real or false. That's inception, and I'm not going to go into that. So we are all creative, and we all participate in it. In terms of what happens with the writer cannot be bound by, I have created one thing, and it will be maintained, and it will be, everyone works within my creation, okay? There is a flexibility in writing, okay? There's a flexibility, and there's a participation in the creative process when you write and create a drama. So even if there's not a playwright, someone writing it, the creative action of constructing it needs to be a free and fluid thing. There's an interesting thing between a writer and a character. The writer, when they write a character, a lot of good writers say the character was just there. The character kind of had a life of its own. So the writer isn't bound by their own thoughts. They allow this character to participate in the creative process. Also, some writers who work with ensemble casts and with devising groups and writing new things, they work with other people, so other people feed into it. They allow the other person to participate, okay? So there's a lot of freedom and graciousness in the activity of creation and with the writer. In Trinitarian thought, God is the creator. God the Father, the Father, first person of the Trinity, is a creator. And what He has done is He has started creation. He participates with all of us in the creative act. He is also participating and guiding the creative process. Therefore, we are creating with God. I go into a lot more detail. I don't have time, nor have I thought it through fully. So if you want to say something that you think, oh, it would be interesting to think about this, please do contact me. The second person of the Trinity, Jesus the Son, or as I like to call him, the true character. The character that is real life, that is truth embodied, is when we act in the character of Christ, something resonates within each one of us. There is a universal acceptance of this character in the terms of when we experience it, when we inhabit it, when something of that character impacts on us, we can but respond in some way. Sometimes we reject it and go for some whatever reason that is, but a lot of us allow that character to come in. A lot of my interactions with actors it is when we act Christ-like, or when they've got the character of Christ, the actor is transformed. You see, what happens in the incarnation is God enters into humanity. He doesn't give up his divinity, he doesn't give up his godlikeness, but he takes on humanity. And so what happens there is God doesn't lose any sense of who he is before he enters into humanity, but he does allow that character to in some way impact, not change, but impact. So as an actor, when you step into a character, you are transformed in some way by that character. You are impacted because you are living, you've got their thought patterns, you've got their emotional responses, part of you, it changes you in some way. Now you can disregard that, and if you come to the compline later, what that prayer is about shedding those things that maybe are harmful to us, those characters that we might not want to hold on to. But they impact us, they change the way that we respond to things as an actor. Okay? So that character kind of embeds itself in us. And what we think about in the incarnation is how God, in some way, kept his full actorness and yet embodied fully the character of humanity. And something about the character also being transformed by the actor in that exchange. There's something quite powerful in that. Now, Jesus was a unique experience. Okay? Actors experience sometimes glimpses of incarnating other characters. We as Christians want to inhabit fully, as best we can, at every waking moment, the character of Christ, allowing that to transform us, and not to shed it, but to hold on to it, allow it to get inside us, take seed, and to grow. That is similar motifs of discipleship and rabbinic tradition. So that's kind of where I'm exploring that at the moment.